So on my other channel, I use a torque wrench, ratchet, whatever you want to call it. Torque wrench is what I always called it. I learned all about torque wrenches when I was in the Navy. I was on a submarine and I had to do what was called sub-safe. So you had to always check watertight integrity, and it took 3 or 4 people to actually verify that you have watertight integrity. And it was a quality control thing. So you would have 2 petty officers, and I think you'd had a chief and an officer all verifying that you were tightening bolts to the correct specification. And of course the torque wrenches had to be calibrated, and I mean there was a whole process to it. So I learned a lot about it. I use a inch-pound torque wrench for my lawnmower repair business. Now I may one of these days get a foot-pound torque wrench, but it would be used very rarely. There's only a couple times where I thought, yeah, I might need it for that particular case, but I've never ran into it yet. Most of the time it's just hand tight. But when you get into sensitive areas, like putting on head gaskets, or when you're putting on the sump seal, those for some reason Briggs & Stratton call out specifically that you need to, well, most small engine repairers call out specific tolerances for that. Everything else is pretty generic. Certain size bolts, they all get, I don't know, 50 inch-pounds or whatever it is. So most people just do it hand tight, common sense, that kind of stuff. Well, in my videos, I've noticed several people, and one that is a pretty good friend of mine, may not be exactly clear on the differences between foot-pounds, inch-pounds, and then there's the metric, and I think it's called newtons, but don't quote me on that. But you can get on Google and you can convert newtons into inch-pounds or foot-pounds or whatever. But there's some confusion about it. I've gotten one rude comment that told me that I just ruined an engine. He says I was torquing a head bolt to 220 inch-pounds, and he said, you just ruined that engine. There's no way that little torque wrench or the head, that aluminum head, could handle 220 foot-pounds. So I thought, well, maybe I said that wrong in the video. Maybe I spoke incorrectly. So I watched the video over again just to make sure, and I didn't say foot-pounds. I said inch-pounds. So, he called me an idiot. That's all good stuff. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So now I did block him, but the others I have not blocked because they're legitimate. The first thing you want to know is, do not trust Google AI with specifications of anything. Torque wrenches, torque spec, millimeters, inches. It gets confused. And the reason I know it gets confused is because during one of these, I thought, I better Google this again and make sure I didn't say something wrong. And I said, and I'm going to explain this in just a minute, what is the inch-pounds for such and such specification? And it came back with, in this case, 10 to 15 inch-pounds. I thought there's no way that is right. There's no way it's right. So then I said, what is the foot-pounds for this particular same specification? And it said 10 to 15 foot-pounds. So I literally hit the back button and it said inch-pounds, forward button, foot-pounds, but it had the same specification. So it was definitely confused. It did not know the difference between inch-pounds and foot-pounds. It was calculating everything in foot-pounds is what it was doing. So I realized, okay, people are going into Google AI and finding out that they feel like I'm wrong because of what I said. What you got to do is, if you're going to Google this, first of all, you could go to Briggs & Stratton and download the manual for your particular mower. But when you do it like I do, you kind of get a sense of what they're supposed to be, when you're doing so many. The other thing is you can go on Google. Those forums, they're pretty good. Most of them, if you can find a consensus, you can kind of gauge by that. For example, this particular case said 10 to 15 foot-pounds, 10 to 15 inch-pounds. You go down to the forums and they all of them said 14 foot-pounds. Then that would have been correct. So what it was on my last video, which I'll put an up next box at the end of this video to that video on my other channel. And what I was trying to do in that, and I would appreciate it if you'll go to that channel watch the video, subscribe, that kind of stuff. So what I was doing was I was teaching everybody that you should be torque specking your spark plug. I didn't say it in the video, but the reason you want to is because they have that compression washer, and you want to make sure you get that compressed correctly. So I said you need to torque it to 180 inch-pounds. So this is just a little dinky 1/4 inch drive. See if you can see that. 1/4 inch drive torque wrench. And you can hear it click. Right now it's set at 0, so it's easy to push. So when you hear that click, then you know that you have tightened your nut to specification. So you can turn this, and it turns it to up to 240 inch-pounds. Now here's the thing, is you can convert inch-pounds and foot-pounds and all that. It's pretty simple. So if you had 10 foot-pounds, for example, what you have to do is multiply that by 12 to get inch-pounds. So 10 foot-pounds times 12 would be 120 inch-pounds. And if it calls out in specifications 120 inch-pounds, then you would divide it. 120 divided by 12 would give you 10 foot-pounds. There's what did I say? 120 divided by 12. That's how you do the conversion. Now, if you want to get into newtons and all that, you can go to Google, but again, don't trust the AI. Go to Google and you'll see conversion charts, pictures. I mean, you go to over images and you see conversion charts that shows you the metric, I think, which is called newtons, over to inch-pounds or foot-pounds or whatever it is. So if you have a piece of equipment that calls out newtons and you only have an inch-pound wrench or a foot-pound wrench, you can convert it. But be careful, because you know, people are telling me that I'm over torquing. Well, first of all, if I'm over torquing, you would see it. I would easily have twisted off or rounded, you know, stripped the bolt hole in those aluminum engines. It doesn't take a lot. So that's why I don't use foot-pounds. I use inch-pounds. That way, it's pretty tough to over torque. But don't trust the AI. That is the key point out of this video, is don't trust AI. And the second key point is how to convert inch-pounds to foot-pounds, which is by times 12 or divided by 12. Okay, so the second part of this video, I wanted to talk about this plane crash. It's terrible. And I'm telling you, I'm so tired of people in this country. I don't know if we've always been like this. I mean, I have to assume that we haven't been, but we also haven't always had internet either. So I can't really say for sure if we've always been this way and we just didn't have a way to communicate our stupidity. So when a tragic event like this happens to me, I don't try to make assumptions about what has happened at all. I mean, I might come up with a list of theories, but that's all. They're just theories. And it's always a list. But I've been watching these YouTube videos. Got up this morning, watched YouTube, and all of a sudden I see about this plane crash. So I start reading the comment section, and everybody's already decided what it is. Everybody has their own opinion about what it is, and they're mad. They're just mad. Of course, they're blaming the new president. You know, that's the first thing. Well, that doesn't even make sense. He's been in office like 10 days. How's this his fault? Well, he did a hiring freeze. Are you telling me that somebody can be an airplane pilot in 10 days? Or an air traffic controller in 10 days? You're telling me that the hiring freeze, which was probably only like 5 days ago, whatever it was, that's it. That's the reason. Okay. But they all have speculations. The military doesn't know what they're doing. The aircraft doesn't know what they're doing. Just on and on and on. And I don't even understand this, because like I said, to me, I just want to know what happened. I want to hear the facts. I would like to hear the voice recordings. You know, they've been playing the air traffic controller all day, talking to the airplane, not the helicopter, the airplane. And so, of course, a lot of people are saying, well, the helicopter didn't have proper communications. We don't know that. We don't know anything. Oh, they were wearing their night goggles. How do we know that? Well, you know, there's just so many things that we don't know. What if, you know, here's a hypothesis, if you want to hypothesize, that the cabin of the helicopter filled up with carbon monoxide and they all passed out. It's nobody's fault. It just happened. The maintenance crew might be at fault, you know, something like that, because carbon monoxide was getting into the cabin. But we just immediately assume that since we want to be angry, that we must be angry and call out some of the most ridiculous things. I mean, it's troll behavior. We've all become trolls. And I was talking to Carolyn about this today. Trolls, they say the dumbest things, the absolute stupidest things, to try to prove that you're stupid. And then the other thing they do is they lie to make you a liar. Well, you said you jumped out of a helicopter once, and now you're saying that you're a submariner? Well, which is it? Well, no, I've never said anything about jumping out of a helicopter. And so, you know, it's troll behavior. They just want to troll. So it's the same things happening here. They want to be angry, so they just say some of the dumbest things, like, that's because of the hiring freeze. What are you talking about? How does any sane person who has graduated the 4th grade think that anybody can fly an airplane in 10 days? You mean to tell me that the pilot had quit his job, so they didn't have a pilot to replace him, so they just left the seat open because some guy didn't come in 10 days ago and replace him? We need to calm down as a country. This is why I live off grid. This is why I don't associate with people. The thing is I've been studying up on people who live off grid and just try to stay away from people. And of course, we are the misfits. We are the crazies, because we're antisocial and we're dangerous and we're psychotic, and the longer we go about it, the more psychotic we are. Okay, but at least I'm not accusing people of doing things, terrible things, like wrecking airplanes and wrecking helicopters without any evidence. I mean, that just seems crazy to me. How am I the crazy one when people are just spewing garbage on the internet? You know, the trolls coming up with lies so they can call you a liar. And I'm the crazy one. You're the social, normal one, because you go out and you have fun and you socialize with friends. But the guy who wants to get away from that craziness is the crazy one. The logic absolutely makes no sense. The science don't make any sense. Yeah, I have a lot of theories about science. Science is not something where some guy says, aha, that's happened, so therefore it's true. Science is something that can be measured and repeated over and over again. So how large is the universe? For example, how far away is the moon? So you shoot a laser up to the moon and you get a measurement and you think, okay, it's 200,000 miles away. Great, do it again. Well, why do I got to do it again? Because I want to make sure it's repeatable. So you shoot a laser and it comes up 205,000 miles. Uh-oh, something's wrong. Why is it different? Well, the science said 200,000 miles, but the other one said 205,000. That doesn't matter, scratch that. And that's how science is being done right now. And that's not science. Science is, okay, we got to figure out why we have discrepancy. What's the difference? Do it again. 215,000 miles. Huh. What are we learning here? Well, the longer we go, you know, we're starting to wobble and do different things, and maybe the moon is doing this and back and forth. You know, I'm being silly. I don't really know what the measurement is. But the point is the more study you do, the more information you have. Science is never conclusive. Never. It cannot ever stop, because you can always change the measurements. The better the measurement device, you know, back in the old days, you get your telescope and you kind of guesstimate, and that was science, how far the moon was. Nowadays, we have lasers. So we can even get more refined, bigger telescopes. We got telescopes out in space. You know, the Hubble telescope did an amazing job. until James Webb came up. Now we have better images, better measurements. Science doesn't stop. So people who say science is settled, it's never settled. So don't be stupid. Don't be ignorant. Don't jump to conclusions, because that's when science stops, is when we just all of a sudden stop sciencing. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to that video where I was working on that lawnmower. I was talking about foot-pound or inch-pounds for a spark plug. And I'm sure we can figure out how to fix things. So hope I can inspire you to never stop studying. So you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.